When in Rome, right? Well, I'm not in Rome. I'm in Kansas. So we're here in Kansas, so we're going to make bierocks. Bierocks is a Kansas specialty. It's a German food. It is so popular here that they actually have a fast food restaurant in the Midwest that is called Runza, and they serve these there. So basically, it is a German dish that is made of ground beef, sauerkraut or cabbage, onions, salt, pepper, sometimes different varieties of cheese, and then all of that is kind of wrapped together with a pastry or some sort of dough. Of course, there's some seasonings and things like that in there too. We're gonna make that today because we live in Kansas now, so we got to do as the Kansians do, right?
Jill from editing here. Okay, so they're called Bierocks, not Bierocks, Bierocks. And many people in the Midwest just call them Runzas. But it's been told to me that Runzas are sometimes considered the rectangular shaped ones, and the Bierocks are the round ones. So whether that's true everywhere, I don't know, but that's what I'm told here in Kansas.
Okay. So it's pretty simple. I got the recipe from Pinterest from Joanna Stevens, but I'm going to cut her recipe in half because right now there's just a couple of us here in the house and hers makes 18 and I just want way less than that. So we're going to start with a half a package of active dry yeast and 1 1/4 cups of warm water. And I've already started this process. So what I did is I mixed those two together and I'm letting it sit in a bowl. I stirred it, whisked it for about 10 seconds, and then I'm letting it sit and do its thing for about 10 minutes and letting those yeasts kind of liven up, wake up. They were in my freezer. They don't look like they're waking up very fast. I'm hoping this turns out because my yeast look like they're on life support, to be honest with you. Anyway, but once 10 minutes passes, we're just going to go with it. If it ends up being a little bit flat, okay, fine, we'll just deal with it. We're going to do this in 3 parts. We're going to make the pastry or the dough for the outside. We're going to make the filling, and then we're going to put it all together and put it in the oven and see how all this turns out. So the dough itself is going to have that yeast that we're preparing, right? So we have a half package of yeast and 1 1/4 cups of warm water, and it's going to sit for 10 minutes and see what happens there. Then to that, we're going to add a half a cup of milk, and that milk is going to be warmed, not hot, but warmed. And then I'm also going to have 1/4 cup of melted butter, and which is basically a half a stick for the most part. And then we're going to do a 1/4 cup of sugar, and then we're going to add in 1 egg. And then once all that's all mixed up, then we're going to start putting in the flour, which is going to be about 5 cups. So of course, if you wanted to make the 18 Bierocks, then double all of what I'm just saying. But we cut it in half. And then after that, we're going to move on to the filling, and we'll go over that when we get there. So I'm going to give a little bit of time for my yeast to hopefully life support. I think we're going to have some flat Bierocks. But we live out in the middle of nowhere. I ain't running the store for yeast, so we're just going to have to make do with whatever we got. That's how we roll around here. Okay, so I've mixed up the milk and the butter, and now I'm going to add the sugar and the egg.
So I'm just going to get my hands in here and start mixing this up, and then I'm going to put it out onto a floured surface and knead it for about 2 minutes. I think I got so into making this dough that I totally forgot I was videotaping. I just stopped talking and was just doing.
Okay, I'm going to knead this for about 2 minutes on a floured surface. Okay, got it all mixed up, kneaded it for 2 minutes. Now I got it in a greased bowl and it's covered. So I'm going to give it about an hour to set up and to rise, okay? So the next thing that little Miss Joanna Stevens says in her recipe is we got to start getting on that filling. So it says the first thing we should do is chop up the onions and the cabbage. So we'll do that and we'll make it real fine. And then we're going to put the butter into a large frying pan, and then we're going to add that onion and the cabbage. And then we're going to cook that for about 6 or 7 minutes, stirring it often. And then after that, I'm going to start cooking the hamburger. I got about a pan to hamburger. So as for the amounts of these things, it's going to be 2 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to put in a pan when I add a half an onion to it, chopped up nice and small, and then 2 cups of shredded cabbage. Okay, and then I'm going to do 1 pound of ground beef in another pan, and then once both of those things are done, I'm going to mix them all together. I'm going to add some salt and pepper to my liking, and then she recommends that if you want to stick traditional, just stop right there, and that is a traditional Bierock filling. But if you want to add cheese, which she really likes, she said to add whatever kind of cheese. So I think we might add some cheese because I do like cheese. And then she definitely recommends that cheese. Okay, so we're going to mix all this together, and then we're going to take that dough after it's risen for an hour, and we're going to divide it into, in our case, nine little dough balls. And then we're going to roll them each out on a floured surface. We're going to preheat our oven to 375, and then we're going to scoop out a half a cup of the Bierock filling into the dough, and then we're going to fold the dough up around them and pinch it to be closed. So like wrap it up like a little hobo sack, and then pinch the top of it. And then place it on a cookie sheet with parchment paper, seam side down. So we're going to flip them upside down, and then we're going to bake those for about 30 minutes at the 375. And then rotate the pan halfway through our cooking time. Another option, she says, but equally tasty, is to brush the tops with melted butter. That sounds good. So, all right. So I'm going to get on cutting up my 2 cups of cabbage, my half an onion, and I already have my my butter and all that stuff ready to go. And then I'll get out some pans. So we'll see how that goes. I'm already stopped. I have 2 big pans, but I don't want to wash 2 big pans because our water pipe outside is busted today. So I have to go outside and turn the water on and off every time I need to use water. So I don't want very many dishes. So I think I'm just going to cook up that cabbage and onion in a pan and then throw it in a bowl and then use the same pan to cook the hamburger in. Yeah, I ain't dirtying 2 pans. I'm going to get to cutting. Wow, look at that cabbage. And then my onion. Okay, so I'm going to get this pan warmed up. And add some salt and pepper. All right, so I got all this made up. Look at this. I feel like it should have some sort of a gravy or something in it, you know? But it's literally just cabbage, onion, salt, pepper, and ground beef. And I'm gonna add cheese to half of them. Well, ish, we have 9, doesn't divide. Anyway, sorry, my dryer is going at this point. Yeah, so as soon as my dough is ready, then I'm gonna roll those out into 9 little balls and then flatten those out, and then I'll show you how to do that. And that should be pretty easy, I think, I hope. And then I'm gonna scoop them up, pinch them up, flip them over on the pan, parchment paper. All right, I did a quick wardrobe change because we're gonna go swimming right after this. Okay, so my dough didn't rise that well, but it didn't do terrible. So I separated them all out, and I did it mathematically. I put it on my food scale, and I divided the grams by 9 and divided them out. So they should all be about the same size. I'm going to grab me a rolling pin. Okay, so I just used this little cutter I got at the dollar store to divide them up into 9 little pieces. And now I'm just going to roll them out and then fill them up. Okay, so here we go. So I just want big circles. It said to put in half a cup of filling So I'm going to do that. There's all that. Now I'm going to just bring these up. I'm going to pinch it. Pinch all my little sides here. Yeah. And then it says to flip it over, put it on the parchment paper. These things are huge. All right, we're going to keep going now. So I'm just going to fill up all the rest of these. Like I said, I'm going to put cheese in half of them, and then we'll see where I'm at when I'm done. Okay. Cook it for 30 minutes once they're done being filled. Things aren't very circular. Guess I should start out with better round balls so that it kind of stays together a little better. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have no cheese. There we are. Okay, so I would not be making this recipe today probably if I wouldn't have had a conversation with some friends of mine in one of our Bible study groups, and they were sharing about how they used to make these, and then some of them were talking about how their grandparents used to make them and how they had traditions. They had traditions with their grandparents based just off of making things like this, these traditional old school meals with their grandparents. And it was just like a thing that they just did. And it was reliable, and it was like clockwork. And it was every Saturday night, popcorn night and whatever. And then you just knew when you go to grandma's on this day that they were going to have Bierocks, or they were going to have popcorn night or whatever. So made me think I need to start traditions like that myself. See if this is one of them. I like a lot of cheese. These ones might end up being a little bit fatter than the rest because I need to use up all the rest of the recipe. So, Jeff and Ruth, thanks for inspiring me to make something yet again outside of my comfort zone. It can't be too awful bad because I absolutely love cabbage. All right. Now we're going to roll these guys up. I'm going to butter the tops of them because I like that idea. Oh boy. These ones are fat. Okay. I don't know if they're all going to fit on my pan at the same time. I got one. Oh no. I just made a big old mess. I got one in here. It won't fit. So we're going to have to make it fit. Because I got to go swimming. So I got to make them all in one batch. There we are. Now, I have a brush sitting right here. I just thought, since it's not, the butter's not exactly melted, it might be easier to do it with this. So we'll see. Okay, going in the oven, 30 minutes. They're done. They're done, they're done. Look at these guys. They smell delicious. So now the trick is I want to get them onto this without busting them all up. Nope. Not going to be able to do it. I'm going to have to get tricky. Tricky. There we go. Oh, you guys didn't even see me slide that on there like a professional. Which is one with the cheese? Is this one? Well, there it is. The Bierock from Kansas. Oh, that steam coming out of there. Oh, I'm like, what is all that white? It's all my dough that I tucked up in there. It is a high dough to Bierock filling ratio, I'd say. That's funny. Yeah, pretty significant. Maybe I should have made a little more filling. But let's see how it tastes. That's really good. That's not like the Runzas at the fast food place. This does not taste like Runzas. It's really good. It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. Oh. So if you want a Bierock or a Runza or whatever they want to call it, give them a shot. This is the one I think has the cheese in it. Pretty good. Go get yourself some.